Hi, good day everyone. So my name is JD and I will be your teacher for environmental science class again. So basic science concepts, no? This is unit 1, part of the unit 1 of the lectures on environmental science. So ito ay magiging fast discussions lang. This will be a review on nature and organizations of matter, that's chemistry, energy and energy flow, that's in physics, cellular basis of life, and that's in biology. So mabilis na discussion lang ito because this will just be an overview and review on your foundations on science concepts before we enter environmental science discussions. So una, sa nature and organization of matter, what is matter? Okay, so if you're asked again sa chemistry class ninyo, what is matter, there are two possible answers. Uh, uh, or pag tinanong kayo, what are the classifications of matter? No? Ang sagot mo pwedeng dalawa, classification by state or classification by composition. If you're asked by composition, that's mixture and pure substances. Pag tinanong ka naman ng by state, of course, the answer that there will be solid, liquid, gas, both ice and condensate, plasma, no? But environmental science, sa pag-uusapan lang natin, will be the solid, the liquid, and the gas. Okay? Because definitely, no, sa physical environment ng science, we have the uh, hydrosphere, the water, the liquid, the geosphere, the earth, no, the solid, and the atmosphere, the gas. So pag-uusapan natin yan sa physical environment. So that's very important, no, of course, na ma-recognize ninyo kung ano nga ba yung states of matter. Atomic structure of atom, of course, what are atoms? Atoms are small building blocks of matter. They are made up of subatomic particles called protons, electrons, and neutrons. And of course, protons, electrons, and neutrons are made out of leptons and quarks, no? And many more. Madami pa. Hinahanap pa kung saan nga ba gawa yung mga sub-atomic particles ng atom. So why is atom very important in discussing environmental science? Because atoms makes up elements, and of course, or atoms makes up elements, and elements makes up compounds present in the environment. Example, like water, H2O, present siya sa environment. Meron kang dalawang hydrogen, tapos isang oxygen. And then this is an example of ammonia. Again, it's also present in the environment. And because alam mo, kilala mo yung atoms na present dito, si oxygen tsaka si hydrogen, si nitrogen tsaka si hydrogen, no? You're able to identify these compounds. And of course, compounds, no, makes up larger molecules like the cellulose from, and that cellulose makes up this crystalline cellulose, makes up these microfibril structures, makes up this layered mesh, and makes up this plant cell, and makes up the plant. Okay, so it always goes down to the structure and nature of matter. It always goes down to elements and compounds, no, that builds up these larger molecules and making up organisms, of course, that are present in the environment. So yun yung mga bagay na kailangan ma-recognize mo na relevance ng chemistry before entering environmental science. Of course, chemical reactions, it is important that you remember or familiarize yourselves with chemical reactions, combination reaction, decomposition, precipitation, excuse me, neutralization, combustion, and displacement reaction. Because these chemical reactions happens in the environment every day it happens. No, like burning or combustion, it happens when there is a forest fire or kapag may nagsusunog or mayroong planta na nagre-release ng carbon dioxide. So it happens every day. It's important for you to recognize it. I'm not asking you to memorize the reactions again, but I just want you to familiarize yourself with chemical reactions that are happening in the environment. Of course, pH scale. pH stands for power of hydrogen or potential of hydrogen. Um, each tawag doon, organism or compounds has their own power of hydrogen. Okay, for those compounds that has hydrogen, of course. Um, and mahalaga na alam natin sila. As you can see, there is a pH scale. Uh, the least is the more acidic and the highest is the more basic or alkali. So they happen, ano nga ba yung safe inumin, ano yung safe kainin, ano yung kapag acidic ka, ano dapat kainin mo, kapag kulang ka sa acid, anong kailangan mo. So you need to be familiarized with these things, no? Okay? Saan, 'di ba nga, ang pH scale also helps you um, there's a line for doctors. They said that if you are engaged in an alkali environment, there is a higher possibility na makaiwas ka ng cancer. So, which foods should you eat that are rich in alkali? Example, the green leafy vegetables. The green leafy vegetables have uh, high alkalinity. Okay? So, it's good na maging familiar tayo sa ganito. Okay, so that's just it for environmental science. Kasi I for chemistry, because this is just an overview on basic science concepts before we proceed to the content of the environmental science. So again, just familiarize yourselves with the states of matter, with chemical reaction, and of course, pH scales. These are very relevant in understanding environmental science. Energy and energy flow, we will just be discussing shortly on the forms of energy. So, una, what is mechanical energy? So, there are two. So, it could either be energy in motion or energy at rest. So, that's a kinetic and potential energy. Examples that we have kapag nag-ski ka, nag-swimming ka, or as you can see, there's a rocket, no? Of course, mechanical energy also involves laws of motion because it involves movement. This is an interaction of the rocket and the land, no? Next one is electromagnetic energy. So electromagnetic energy, okay, these are light. Energy includes energy from gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet rays, visible light, infrared rays, microwave, and radio bands. So electromagnetic energy is a spectrum. 'Di ba may ano yan? May electromagnetic spectrum. And one of those is the visible light where we see it. And this is very relevant then sa environmental science. Of course, mechanical energy is relevant kasi animals and humans are moving, although plants are not moving, but they are also growing naman. So, yon. So, electromagnetic energy, what is its relevance? Ngayon, may mga gumagamit na ng indoor, may mga gumagawa na ng uh, indoor planting ng kanilang vegetables, and they use electromagnetic uh, devices in order to light their plants. Next is electrical energy. We already talked about, of course, energy caused by movement of electrons, easily transported through power lines and converted into lines and converted into other forms of energy. We already discussed about sources of energy, and mostly, we convert this energy into electrical energy para magamit din natin sa bahay natin, sa televisions natin, sa Wi-Fi, sa electric fan, which is mechanical energy, and other stuffs. No? Pero again, this is also an issue on sources of electrical energy. Saan nga ba tayo mas efficient makakakuha ng saan nga ba tayo mas makakakuha ng energy more efficiently, more efficiently? Okay? Of course, chemical energy, okay, creation of fire, combustion, energy that is available to release chemical reactions, chemical bonds, and matchstick store energy transformed into thermal energy when the match is struck. So, Energy transformation is also very important and very relevant in environmental science para mabawasan natin yung energy loss that goes to the environment. For example, the coal is a chemical energy source, dry cells are energy source, and cotton candies. Okay. Cotton candies for human body naman yan. Kasi carbohydrates are good sources of energy. Thermal energy, clarification, there is no such thing as heat energy. Heat is actually just part of thermal energy. So if an atom, balik tayo sa atom sa chemistry, kapag ang atom ay excited, no, it's hot. Kapag it cools down, it's it cools, okay? So again, wala din tayong tinatawag na cool talaga, no, because cold pala, because cold is just the absence of heat. So, 'di ba? And if you are asked about heat and temperature again, temperature is the average kinetic energy of a molecule. So, ibig sabihin, if it moves fast, it's higher, it's hotter. If it slows down, it's cooler. Ganun din ang mga molecules na meron tayo sa environment. By the way, sa chemistry kanina, I was not able to mention, 'di ba every morning kapag kayo ay galing sa signal tapos magta-tricycle kayo na dadaan sa may tenement banda, 'pag madaling araw, it smells. Okay, mabaho. Pero 'pag tanghali kayo nag-tricycle, medyo nababawasan yung baho. It's because, of course, of principle of thermal expansion of how molecules behave in temperature. Kapag malamig ang tendency, ang mga gas molecules mo, they go down. So pag madaling araw or gabi, mas naaamoy mo yung lansa, yung baho. Pero kapag um, mainit, no, hotter environment, it goes up. Okay? When it goes up, no, medyo less yung naaamoy mong ah, smell, 'di ba? So gano'n din kapag ano din, kapag nasa kwarto ka ta's air conditioned yung room, mas mahirap, concentrated yung ano, 'no. But let's go back to thermal energy. Sa thermal energy naman, ah, of course, uh, a hotter object, high concentration transferred to a lower concentrated object. So if in short, no, kapag 'di ba nagbubukas kayo ng pinto, tapos may aircon kayo sa loob ng bahay ninyo or ng room ninyo, sinasabi mo lalabas yung lamig. But it's actually yung init yung papasok because hot transfers to travels to cold. Ayun. So those are natural thing that you should already familiar of. You should be familiar of na kasi energy transformations happens every day. Okay? And of course, if you're asked what is the major source of energy, our always answer will be sun. Sun is a major source of energy. Um, Pero may tanong, bakit kaya hindi na lang sun yung gamitin natin? Solar cells ang gamitin natin. Yes, that's true. Ang solar cells po ay ginagamit na po natin. Solar panels are good. But ang problem kasi sa solar panels, we cannot utilize it properly. Hindi natin natatransform with higher efficiency yung energy na nakukuha natin sa araw into other forms of energy like electrical energy. And until now, the Energy Association of US and the world are still figuring out and investing kung paano nga ba nila matatransform in higher efficiency yung energy na nakukuha sa sunlight to electrical energy. And trust me, kung iniisip nyo yun, madami na po nagtatangka talaga. One of my prospect researches is about solar cells because I'm working on a glycerol cells, pero my advisor is asking me to do solar cells. Pero still figuring it out. Kasi parang madami na kasi gumagawa nito, energy research, pero um, well, we'll see. Tingnan natin. No? Of course, to the electrical engineers, electronics engineers, it's good to study energy science na. Is the trend in engineering to look for other possible sources of energy and energy transformation. Kasi kapag sources of energy, madali lang. Example, sun. But energy transformation na may higher efficiency, mako-convert mo yung energy na to in this form of energy na walang energy na malulus sa environment, no? It's difficult. Mahirap yun. So yun, yung energy usually kasi kapag 'di ba machines example, nagre-release yan ng heat sa environment that participates in the global warming or increase in global temperature. So yun din yung kahalagahan ng efficient energy transformation. So again, calculations of energy, this is your physics class for your potential energy, kinetic energy, energy efficiency. Of course, units of energy are in joules or watts. Ito yung electromagnetic spectrum that I was mentioning a while ago sa electromagnetic spectrum. Diba there is actually a song for this one. Okay. So now let's go to basis of life. Of course, that's cells. So we're done with chemistry part, organization of matter, and of course, we're also done with physics. Bakit ba ulit mahalaga yung organizations of matter sa chemistry natin? Because everything is made up of atoms. No? Yung naaamoy mo, yung kinakain mo, yung iniinom mo, itong mga bagay nito, ito ay made up of atoms. So you should be familiar of uh, its composition. Again, we are not asking you to memorize it, but be familiarized with it and how they behave with the environment, if it's hot or it's cold. Kapag sa energy transformation naman, kaya natin ito inaaral sa environmental science because we want to transform energy in a more efficient manner para mabawasan natin ang loss of heat na nakakaapekto sa increase ng uh, global temperature. Now we're going to the basis of life, and that is cell. Of course, microscopes are used before, no, in understanding sizes of smaller sizes of microorganisms. Discovery of cell, earliest microscopes in mid 1600s. Observations led to discoveries. So Hooke's study for cork through microscope in 1665, tapos si Leeuwenhoek naman saw living organisms in pond of water in 1674. So they already started venturing on bacteria, microorganisms, until that they are able to develop the cell theory with, of course, the contributions of Robert Hooke, Anton van Leeuwenhoek, Matthias Schleiden. States of plants and are all made of cells. Theodor Schwann concludes that all animals are made up of cell, and Rudolf Virchow says that all cells come from existing cells. So that's the cell theory. No? Observations and conclusions by many scientists lead to three cell theory. Una, all living things are made up of cells. Number two, cells are basic unit of life or structure or functions of living organism, and new cells are produced from existing cells. So we all came from existing cells. Basis of life separated from outside world cell membrane. So the DNA stores biological information. DNA stores in nucleus depending on the type of cell. So there are two major types. We have the prokaryotic cells. These are the ancient cells. Sabi nga nila, the oldest organism that we have, that we have, the oldest organism recorded now based on natural history again. These are called the cyanobacteria, existed 3.8 billion years ago. And then the eukaryotes. The eukaryotes can also be animal cells or plant cells. Larger and more complex, organized structures and contains nucleus. So what's the major difference of prokaryotic and eukaryotic? They both have plasma, cytoplasm, DNA, nucleoid region, and ribosomes, but the eukaryotic cells has nucleus. So the nucleus contains the DNA, um, which contains the center of which is the center of the cell. So DNA is the control center the nucleus, no? And then sa nucleus, nandun yung DNA. Yung DNA, that's the code of instructions of our body. And sabi nila, DNA is also called as the language of life because it has a code. Di ba nga meron dyan, if you remember your biology class, meron dyan uracil, adenine, guanine, thymine. These are all codes, no, that should be properly coded of your RNA, DNA para magkaroon for you to carry the next information from your parent cells. Okay? Eukaryotic cells sa animals divided into two parts. So you have nucleus and cytoplasm contains many functional little organs or the organelles. So you have these. Yan, hindi ko na isa-isahin yan. That's in your biology class. And of course, eukaryotic cells in plants, which also have similar with the eukaryotic cells of animal cells. But the question is, anong pagkakaiba ng animal cell and plant cell? What's their difference? Of course, their major difference is that plant cells contains cell walls. So ano naman ibig sabihin kung meron tayong cell wall? Ano naman kung merong cell wall ang plant? Bakit walang cell wall ang human beings? Because if we have cell walls, we won't be able to move. Wala tayong motor skills unlike sa wala tayong mawawalan tayo ng motor skills. Kaya it's also nice that we don't have cell walls, no? And actually, if you're also going to refer to, di ba, you have plant cells and plant cell. Again, we have two major types of cell, the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. The eukaryotic cells can either be a plant cell or an animal cell. So lahat sila meron, ang talagang wala lang talaga sa uh, humans na meron sa plant is the cell wall. So because of cell wall, that's why plants are really strong, really firm, and they cannot move, diba? And that's what makes animals and humans different compared to other organisms because we can move. Okay, we can move compared to plants. But what's the difference of human beings and animals? Um, if you're going back to one of the philosophies of Aristotle, he is the first person to classify organisms, plants, animals, and human beings. The only thing that separates human beings from plants is our ability to reason, our ability to be logical. So yun yung advantage natin sa mga animals. So what if nawala yung reasoning mo? Of course, then you will be an animal. Okay, let's go back to our discussion. Again, cells are also very important in the environment because they carry the cells carry the information of life from the ancient times to the present time. Yeah. Okay, so of course, cells work together in order for an organism to function. Okay, so let's go to the question on how was Earth formed. There are many theories on how was Earth formed in your Earth science class. I will not be discussing it, but according to the Big Bang Theory, according to the Big Bang Theory, the Earth the universe began approximately 14 billion years ago, and the Earth was formed at around 4.6 billion years ago, and the first form of life was formed in 3.8 billion years ago from the cyanobacteria. Ayan, 13.7 billion years ago pala daw. Okay. This is from the creation of all matter. Of course, the base elements are hydrogen and helium was the first elements, and then they just evolved based on this timeline that uh, is shown in the picture. Okay, so based then sa steady state theory that the universe started with the steady state theory that the universe continuously expands, no, like a pizza rolling. But there are a lot of theories on the Earth. No? So what's the importance of this one? Whether it be whatever theory you believe in sa discovery ng planet as a formation ng Earth natin, whether it be also the divine theory of creation, um, it always boils down to one idea that we should still take good care of our planet. Kasi kung ito man ay galing sa Big Bang or ito man ay galing sa iba't ibang teorya, it always takes a lot of year, a lot of years to create one planet. So we should take good care of it, no? And if you're also studying the space, studying the space, um, maybe you're wondering bakit dinidisinfect bago ang magpalipad ng mga bago magpalipad ng spaceship, bago magpalipad ng mga satellites or microsatellites, lahat yan po ay dinidisinfect. Dinidisinfect sila 99.99%, no? Or even 100% if they want to make sure that there are no bacteria na bacteria present in the spaceship. Kasi kapag nagpunta yan, example, 'di ba 6 years from now, I think 'di ba nga merong ding project papunta sa Mars. Ang daming Pilipino na ano doon. Um, um, uh, pumunta sa Mars, ganun, or pupunta sa Moon, yung mga projects ng NASA na ganun, or even project ng Russia na ganun, they always make sure that it's sanitized because we don't want to invade. Okay? So the reason why we don't, kasi baka mamaya may bacteria ka na carrier ka ng bacteria, tapos pagpunta mo sa space na, pagpunta mo sa moon, pagpunta mo sa Mars, eh, yung bacteria na yun ay maging invader ng mga possible existing lives doon, like bacteria na present din doon. So, yun lang. It's just a trivia that you should be familiar of. Segregation of elements and elements, gravitational force. So compositionally distinct layers. So we have Earth has layers, inner core, outer core, mantle, and crust. And there are also physical layers, which we will be discussing on the physical environment. So there are four topics that we discussed. Now, una is the organization of matter. Again, it is important that we know the organization of matter because everything is made up of matter. Matter is everything. Matter is made up of atoms, and matter makes up everything. Okay, like compounds and molecules that we see and interact with the environment every day. Kaya dapat familiar tayo sa kanila. Most importantly, of course, yung malagi natin na-encounter, water molecules, um, tapos yung mga na-encounter natin like ammonia. Okay? And the next one is the energy and energy transformation. There are different forms of energy, and most importantly, we want to utilize energy properly. Yung pwede natin matransform yung energy na hindi nasasayang yung energy, na hindi ka nagkakaroon ng heat transformation or energy waste sa environment para makabawas sa ah, energy or heat waste or mag-contribute doon sa increase ng global temperature. And then third is the pangatlo ay yung uh, basis of life, that cell. Of course, it is important that we recognize the difference of animals and plants, but either way, no, we are all made up of cells and we're still connected to all living organisms. And then lastly, how was the earth formed? Okay, there are a lot of theories about the formation of Earth, the Big Bang theory, steady state, divine theory, and any other theories. But at the end of the day, the discussion is that it takes a lot of years in order to create one planet. So we must take good care of our uh, planet. So we're already done with the basic science concepts. Just like what I said, this will just be a fast discussion kasi review lang naman ito ng mga discussions ninyo sa biology, chemistry, and physics ninyo. Iniwasan natin ang curriculum overlap. Baka maulit lang yung discussion namin before. So, hinighlight lang natin yung mga concepts na pwedeng makatulong sa discussions natin further sa environment. Now, after this, we will be discussing the physical environment. Should you have any questions or clarifications, please feel free to comment or email me po at jonathandavid_delacruz at tup.edu.ph. So after this, we'll be going to physical environment, hydrosphere, atmosphere, geosphere, and we'll be discussing an overview on the biosphere. And that will be the end of the video lecture today. Thank you.